Hey folks, welcome back to another Heroes of the Shire video. You with Damien today, and we're just talking about sort of a tier list for a 1 versus 1 arena mode. So my backers have been chatting in Discord about sort of top meta characters. So I thought I would just give my opinions from my experience in the game, of course, which at this precise moment in time is more than anybody else. I had just previously recorded a video. Spent about half an hour chatting to the camera as I was drag and dropping all these characters, but unfortunately, as I was trying to, finish recording the video, the screen recorder stopped working on me, so I've lost that video now, unfortunately. So we've just jumped into basically my final analysis here, and I'll just quickly cover who's where and why. So let's start down the bottom, the War Drummer. The War Drummer, again, fantastic. Sorry, I say again. This going back to my previous video. The War Drummer, fantastic character. But for 1 versus 1, I would potentially put him down the bottom just because his hero ability does rely on him losing HP. So his viability massively increases in 2 versus 2 in the scenario mode because he works amazing with a healer, okay? And you can't utilize his hero ability all too many times in 1 versus 1 because paying the life, if you're fighting a damage dealer character and they're slowly chipping away at you, you won't be able to use that hero ability too much. So that just puts him in an ever so slightly negative way compared to some of the other heroes. Hence why he's the only hero down in the D tier. In the C tier, we've got 3 DPS characters. We've got the Berserker, we've got the Dragon Knight, we've got the Scholar, and they're mostly just there because of their ever so slightly lack of survivability. All 3 of them very similar, do a lot of high single fire damage. Again, viability is massively increased when they're in teams. All 3 of them have amazing synergies with other heroes. But if I was to, be forced into this little tier list, which I've kind of just done for myself this morning, I pop them down in the C tier. And reflecting back on it now and having a quick look at all the other heroes, I'd say I'm still happy to leave them there. I mean, in that particular order as well, I keep the Berserker at the top, followed by the Dragon Knight and the Scholar. Moving on to B tier. Top of the B tier, we've got the Alchemist. She's a jack of all trades. She's got a lot going for her. Why she's in the B and not in the S or the A is she just doesn't have enough damage to get the games over quickly, of course, because she's not a damage-dealing character. She's a support character. And again, in 1 versus 1, she just doesn't have enough damage and she just doesn't have enough players to support to push her forward into that A or the S tier. With the Assassin would be S tier for damage. He's phenomenal, but he does rely on those big cooldowns coming back, and on his own, he doesn't have ways of manipulating his own dice. So you do feel like you're playing a waiting game sometimes to get those big mutilates and slashes back. So that's why I've popped him at the top end of the B tier. Cleric, again, a bit like the Alchemist, jack of all trades. She's got a lot of damage, but she's sort of a mixture of the Assassin and the Alchemist. She doesn't have enough people in a 1 versus 1 to heal, so her kit can't fully shine. And again, she feels a little bit like the Assassin, where she's got a couple of big spells and you do feel like you're waiting for them to come back on the cooldowns. The Runesmith and the Illusionist, slightly lower end of the B spectrum. The Runesmith is a bit of a jack of all trades. He's more of a support character. He's got some good DPS as well. Illusionist works fantastic in teams. He's got a little bit of DPS. I mean, he is a DPS character. He's got a little bit of DPS before he shatters into his elusive form. When he shatters, of course, he would be a top S tier character. But with a defense stat, I can't remember, is it 2 or 3? Let me quickly pull up his board. The Illusionist. Defense value of 2. Like the survivability, he can die quickly. Of course, when he shatters, he's got a counter spell and he's got damage immunity with his ice block. But taking the whole kit into consideration, I'd pop them into a B, just because, as great as, the B, C, and D characters are, again, if I'm being forced to put them into my favourites and my sort of meta, this is how I would do it. Moving on to the A tier, Starting at the top, we've got the Witch Doctor. The Witch Doctor, jack of all trades, really, really good at being a jack of all trades. He's got the energize, he's got the glow, he's basically got everything in his kit. He's got some reasonably good damage as well. We then got the Warlock. Warlock is sort of master of dots, the damage over time conditions. He's my second favourite character after the Engineer to actually play. I like running him. I like running him as a Soul Harvester, just because he gains lots of HP from removing all the dots that you place on your enemies. And as long as you're stacking enough dots and gaining enough HP, he can be quite a problem to deal with. Moving on to the Musketeer. The Musketeer, now you'll see the Musketeer is pretty much the highest character I've got on single fire DPS in this list, closely followed by the Huntress. And that's because from our playtest, I found that unlike the Assassin and the Berserker and things, she's just got this constant flood of single fire damage, where she doesn't seem to be waiting all too much for her really big spells. Of course, she will be waiting for them, but it just feels like you're constantly being flooded with damage, and you can't do the heals and you can't do the protection spells because you're constantly forced into your other plays because you're close to death all the time. Huntress got the pets, similar to the Musketeer, got a lot of damage. She's sort of like a Hulk smash character. You can't really do wrong by her. So a really good intro character, hence why we have her in our tutorial page. Blood Mage is fantastic, lacks a bit of survivability, but he's one of the more complex characters to play because you've got the sacrifice effect, so he can sacrifice himself or his pets or allies' pets in teams mode. His blood transfusion ability is one of the strongest in the game if left untouched. So yeah, I think he rightly deserves to sit in amongst the A tier. We then got the Druid. Druid's got an AoE, damage immunity, which is absolutely fantastic. She's got all the different animal forms. She's got the heals. She's got damage in the metamorphosis tree. She's got the tough to kill, the armored bear ability in her fortification path. And then we've got the warrior. The warrior is a fantastic character. A lot of damage, like the war drummer. Can spread a lot of great positive buffs. His all eyes on me ability is really unique to him. No other heroes have anything like that in the game. So in team modes, he's fantastic again. I'd probably keep him in the A tier even in team modes because he's potentially got one of the strongest spells in the game with his Wind Fury because it strikes 3 times, and anything that strikes multiple times, when you buff stats, those stats are basically tripled for that attack. So yeah, he's great. And then last but not least in the A tier, we've got the Bard. And the Bard was a mix-up between the A and the B tier. I popped her into the A tier. She got the biggest heal in the game with Song of Rest. The downside is that she does fall asleep herself with her own song. But that can easily be counteracted because if you time it right, if your enemy's got advantage or they've got lots of high strength or intellect buffs on their next turn, they're really going to want to attack. So when they're attacking, that's obviously going to wake you up. And, a little bit like the Druid, she's a jack of all trades. She's got a lot going for her. Top of the S tier, then I've got the Engineer. The Engineer, he's got crowd control, he's got a little bit of healing. He's got all the mechs. The way I like to play him is slow and steady. And then come later on in the game, sort of round 6+, he kind of becomes unstoppable. So I guess a counter play to him would be to keep him confused early on, stop him getting his gadgets up and running fast, and just single fire damage. Just get him down as quick as you can. Don't try and play the long haul game with him. And then we got the Paladin and the Shaman, both top tier jack of all trade characters. They've got protection, they've got healing, they've got stuns, they've got damage as well. So yeah, I'm very happy with the order of those two. All of those in the S tier, actually, I would keep them how they are. The Shaman, followed by the Paladin, followed by the Engineer. So that's just a really quick, brief tier list from myself. I did mention in my previous video that I lost the content for these tier lists are very hard to do because our characters are not just designed for 1 versus 1. That does mostly, our competitive format is going to be 2 versus 2 if we're looking at just the arena mode only. Our characters have intentionally been built with all the synergies. So 1 versus 1, like the War Drummer doesn't deserve to be in the D tier, but for 1 versus 1, a lot of his kit's not being utilized. So if I was forced, I would pop him down in the D. So we'll do another one for 2 versus 2, 3 versus 3, and the co-op mode over the course of the coming weeks. Let me know what you guys think from sort of theory crafting with their boards. Do you think that I've got characters in the complete wrong tiers? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks very much for stopping by. That's us for this video. Take care. Over and out.